Today is February 21st, 2024, and we're recording these oral histories as part of the 50th anniversary of the 1974 Xenia and Wilberforce area tornado. I'm Tamar Creaky from the Greene County Public Library, and we're going to talk with Jean.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you, have you lived in Xenia your whole life?
I've been in Xenia since I was 3 months old.
Really?
I was originally born in Richmond, Virginia. My mother was there. My daddy was originally from Mississippi, and he went to Tuskegee Institute.
Really?
And then when he finished there, he was a linotype operator. So he did a lot of jobs working for black newspapers in the Kansas and Missouri area. And then he left there and went to St. Luke's Press in Richmond, Virginia, which was a large black-owned company. But then the Depression hit, and they had financial problems like most folks did.
Yeah.
So then he got a job working at what was Wilberforce University.
Mm.
But they had the state side had more like a normal school, and they had, at that time, they did a lot of trades, taught a lot of trades, and so he went to work there, and he worked for the state, and ran the print shop for the school, and taught linotype operators. So
that's how you ended up in...
that's how I ended up in Xenia.
This area, okay.
And I've been there ever since.
So you went to Xenia schools?
I went to, they had a laboratory school at Wilberforce, and I went there for 2 years of kindergarten, and then my first 10 grades. And then in 1948, that's when the church and the state side split. And they closed the laboratory school, and boy, there was 8 years in the laboratory school and then 4 years in what they called the Wilberforce Academy. So my last 2 years were spent at East High School in Xenia.
Oh.
And so then I finished there, and then I went to school at Central State.
Oh.
And I finished there in 3 years with a math degree.
Oh, really?
But I did go there for 2 years now. My sisters only went 8 years, well, kindergarten and 8 years at Wilberforce. But then they did all their high school work in Xenia.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Now, did you get married in Xenia?
Yes, I got married in Xenia, and after 5 years, we moved to what is the Wilberforce area. But where we are, we get our mail delivered from Xenia. So I just continued my address as Xenia.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've been in Xenia all my life.
Oh, wow. And then you raised all your kids?
I had 2 children.
Okay.
And they both went to the Xenia schools.
Oh, okay.
And then they had reopened the laboratory school when my oldest, Joyette, started school. So she went there 2 years, and then she went to the Xenia schools in her 3rd grade.
Oh.
Jacqueline went to, at one point in time, the Xenia City School had kindergarten at the school on the campus, which was the renamed to be the Lucinda Cook School.
Mm.
But then when she got into 1st grade, she went to the Xenia schools.
Oh.
And they both finished Xenia High. And my oldest daughter went to the University of Cincinnati, and Jacqueline went to Grambling University in Louisiana.
Oh, really?
And when you go back to my husband was originally from Kansas City, Missouri, and he came here to go to school. And he finished with a math degree, and in the meantime, he had done his student teaching in the Xenia schools. So the principal asked him of East High, because at that time the schools were still segregated, asked him to offered him a job as a math teacher because the math teacher had retired. So, which he did. So I met him while his first year of teaching and my last year of high school.
Oh, wow.
And then his first year of college, he was inducted into the Army. He was drafted for the Korean War.
Oh.
And then when he came back to teach, so, and we started going together, and we got married a year later.
Oh, wow.
And so he died in 1921 from COVID.
Oh, my goodness.
But we were married 68 years.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. Now, I think a lot of people forget or don't know, especially younger-ish people that didn't experience it, that schools were segregated here, even up here.
Yeah.
When were they desegregated in Xenia? Do you remember approximately?
1957.
Okay. Was it difficult, the desegregation? Or?
I know that's when they integrated to high school, and I'm not sure because my children were out of the
younger grades.
Younger.
Yeah.
So,
was it a difficult process for the community, or was it smooth?
actually, I wasn't involved that much because they were already integrated when my children started school.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And so, and I know a lot of them, I have a lot of younger friends who were like the first ones to be integrated into the high school. And they seem to have survived. I never talked to them about any detail, but I mean, they've done well. They don't seem to have suffered any trauma.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
I know with my youngest daughter, she had a little difficulty. She went for a couple years or so, they had sort of like a magnet school, and she was in the first grade. And she had a few problems, and basically it was because that the couple of the white girls did not want to acknowledge the fact that she was as smart as them, or smarter.
Oh.
So
That's terrible. It's ridiculous.
she survived.
Good for her. And that was Jacqueline?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's okay, you know Jacqueline.
No, and Jacqueline from the library, I can understand. She'd stick it up.
Actually, one of the parents wanted to talk to us, and so Jacqueline and I went out there to their house, and they just wanted to know if Jacqueline just would kind of tone it down and not always be the first answer. No, Jacqueline's not Jacqueline, it's Jacqueline.
That's right. That's right. So did you stay home and raise the girls, or did you work?
No, I worked. I started, when I finished college, I was a little slow in getting a job because there wasn't a lot of jobs for mathematicians at those days.
Mm-hmm.
But I finally got a job at the base as a math aide. And then after a few years and some other things that happened, I got a job, and actually it was very fortunate. I was at the right spot at the right time.
Oh.
I was hard into what is now NASIC, the beginnings of NASIC. It was then Air Intelligence Technical Center at Wright Pat, and they were just setting up their first computer office. So I got in on the ground floor, and I got in when the computer was like a great big open door refrigerator with lots of tubes and bulbs and flashing, and didn't work half the time. It was called the Radix. And then from then on it was history. And then about 2 years after I got that job, I got pregnant. And I really didn't intend to work, but then I decided, this is exciting. And my father had just died, so my mother said she'd keep the joy yet.
Oh, that was nice.
So then I went back to work. And then 4 years later, there was Chaplain, and by that time, it was really exciting. So my mother was still keeping them, and so I went back to work.
Oh, wow.
And I've discussed it with my children, and they said they did not look back, and they didn't have any issues with me going to work.
Oh, well, good, good. It worked out well then. And so by 1974, when the tornado came, if you don't mind me asking, do you remember how old you were around?
Yeah, I was 43.
Okay, okay. And the day of the tornado, it was, I know it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and it hit at what?
It was on a Wednesday.
Okay.
It was an interesting day. It was a week before the school break, and a child that had finished senior high school, who had gone to high school with my daughter, and her family had relocated to the Chicago area, and she had come to spend a week with us.
Oh.
So my husband was on TDY in Seattle. So I got up and went to work that day. They were on spring break, and it was because it was a week before Easter. And I told them when I came home from work, we were going to go to the mall and do a little Easter shopping. So anyway, I went to work, and as I was walking out with my boss. And I said, Jim, I said, I know I'm leaving a little early today. I said, but I promised the kids I would take them to the mall and do some Easter shopping. And I said, I'll make it up, because we had flex time. And I said, I'll make it up tomorrow. And he said, no problem. And I said, it sure looks weird out here.
Yeah.
And so we were coming home. I was coming home. And at that time, WHIO had a news program which told you the traffic problems.
Oh.
And I was an avid fan of that. So I'm going along, and all of a sudden they start talking about tornadoes. And they kept on talking about it. And then they said it's moving into the Xenia area, into the southern part of Greene County. At that time, WDAO was a very popular station, black station that my children listened to.
Oh.
So I switched to them, and they were playing music, didn't say a word about tornadoes. So I switched back to WHIO. And when I came home from the base, I would leave the base and come up, Kaufman Road. And I'd take that on up to, anyway, I would get to Yellow Springs, Dayton Road, not Yellow Springs Road. I can't think of the name of the road.
Is it Dayton Yellow Springs? It's like
Dayton Yellow Springs. Well, there's two.
Oh.
Okay, it's the one that goes past now all that Kroger's and all in that road. I can't think of it.
Oh.
I think that's Xenia Yellow Springs.
Dayton Xenia.
Yeah, Dayton Xenia Road.
Okay.
Okay, so I go up there to 235 and turn
Okay.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to 235 and made that right turn, I looked back and I saw the tornado.
Oh, wow.
And they were saying, if you were on the road, to take cover, get in the house, get in the basement and all. So I thought, I gotta get home. They do not know there's a tornado.
Right, yeah.
So I was flying low, and then I got to 235 to 68, and then turned left onto Brush Road Road.
Okay.
And if you know, Brush Road Road is full of curves.
Yes.
But I hadn't driven it. I knew that road like the back of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was flying low. And when I turned left to go onto Turner Place off of Wilberforce Clifton Road, the tornado was at the end of the block
Oh, my goodness.
behind me. So I pulled up into the driveway, and Jacqueline was standing there looking out the window. And I blew the horn, because I was trying to get the garage door open.
Mm.
And she opened the door, and she said, "Mama, we don't have any power." I said, "Okay."
Oh.
I came in, and Joyette was stretched out on the couch. We had remodeled our house and made the garage into a family room and added another garage. And she was laying on the couch along that wall, which was on the other side of the wall. That wall was a fireplace.
Oh.
And Esther was Joyette's guest. She was sitting at the table, and in those days, you know, they had those, remember the old kind of, it wasn't wood, but an old-fashioned table with a big metal base and floor, you know, roll around chairs.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Like that. So, okay, she was there. I said, "We gotta get in the basement. The tornado's coming." So my other daughter, who is very inquisitive, jumped up and said, "I wanna see it." And I said, "If you look to the back, you'll see it," because we could see the debris going up behind, because the back of that room was a big sliding glass door.
Mm.
So anyway, we got down in the basement, and we got up under the pool table, and we heard a lot of stuff falling, and we laughed and said, "Wonder whose window or whose lamp that is." And then finally we heard silence. No, we never did hear the train sound. I don't know what happened. We didn't hear that sound.
Hmm.
But we finally subsided, and a couple of the windows opened up, and like, well, it was more like sand or something small that drifted in through the screens that were on, but nothing big came in.
Mm.
So then we it subsided, and got ready to come up the steps, and I saw the sky.
Mm.
And so, the kids didn't come right up behind me, but we had a swimming pool, and the swimming things were down there, so they didn't have shoes on, so they were looking for the swimming shoes
Mm-hmm.
to come up.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was history. And I thought, my car got damaged because the windshield broke
Oh.
from it sitting out. So the fellow next door, who was a year older than Joyette, came over to see if he could help us. So he said, and I said no, but then he decided he would take us to town because my mother lived in town.
Oh,
And
gosh.
my mother lived right in the heart of town, and she had had a stroke and was paralyzed on the right side. But I had another sister that lived with her. So I thought, okay, I gotta get there to see if they're okay,
Yeah.
and take the kids to someplace where there's a roof. So he proceeded to do that. Well, of course, by that time, there were so many trees down and so much traffic and all. We had a detour, and instead of going right on Route 42, we went left, because that was easier, the traffic. And when we got up about, right in front of Central State, and a friend, I mean, she wasn't a close friend, but she was a friend, and she had a daughter in Joyette's class, and they were out in the yard, and so she motioned to us, so we pulled in her driveway, and she said, "Well, just leave these children here." And she said, "I'll watch them, and you try to get to town." So by that time, Bobby was his name. I said, okay, and I said, "You just go back and, check your family." Because fortunately, his street was sort of like perpendicular to our street, and they didn't have any damage.
Oh.
And so I proceeded to start to walk into Xenia to go see about my mother. In the meantime, I had a sister who lived in the first part of Arrowhead.
Oh.
Now, tornadoes do not stay on the ground very long.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really thought is once I check Mama, I'll find a way and I'll go get the kids and I'll go out to my sister's so we can there.
Yeah.
Wrong. That was an unusual tornado.
Mm-hmm.
I got to town. I was walking along and a taxi came along and picked me up. I got to town. I walked down to my mother's. And I'm walking in, I see these war refugees coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, at that time, 74, my youngest nephew was about 6, I guess, if he was that old. And he had a fro, a big fro. And all this pink asbestos was in this fro.
Really?
So he and his mother and his sister and his daddy were walking to Mama's house with the intent of coming to stay with me.
Oh, no. No.
So there we are, all these, and they looked just like war refugees because their house was on a slab.
Mm-hmm.
And it was swept away.
Wow.
And the garage stood, but the house didn't, because the car was inside the garage, and it got clobbered. Well, the garage, all of it wasn't swept away, but the house was.
Wow.
Because it was funny, when I got out there, finally got out there to her house to see the damage, and I said, I didn't know your couch was that ugly. She said, that's not my couch, it's somebody else's couch that landed in the backyard.
Wow.
So, okay, to make the story long, my sister had just the tornado turned a block made a turn by a block from them. So they had a very minimal of roof damage, but other than that, they were okay. But they didn't have any water. But then the city was getting ready to they didn't have any lights, but the city was getting ready to shut the gas and water off.
Mm.
So we made arrangements with some of my mother's neighbors. I had another sister who lived in Dayton for them to take her to Dayton to stay with my sister. So then I went on over there to Dayton because I knew that my children were safe with the friends that I had left them with. And so I went with my mother to get her over to Dayton cell because she was adamant she wasn't leaving her house.
Oh.
She was in a wheelchair, couldn't walk. Very.
Too tough for her to try to, and she can't stay if there's no water.
I said, you can't stay here, but anyway, we did that. So then I spent the night there, and I finally, then my husband called, and he had gone, he was in Seattle, and somebody there called and told him that we'd had this tornado in Xenia, so he couldn't get home until the next day. And then I stayed over in Dayton. Well, I was in Dayton with that, and we had a very good friend that lived in Dayton who had come to school at Central State with my husband from Kansas City.
Oh.
So he happened to call my sister, and so he came over, and about 1 o'clock that night, we came back. And at that time, we had to wander all through the route. I knew all the roads in order for us to get through, because we couldn't get through to Xenia. We had to go bypass around.
Right.
So I said, something's wrong. And then it dawned on me, all the trees along Brush Road Road and Wilberforce Clifton Road were down. And so it was and then when I got back and looked at the house, the front of the house didn't look that bad, but the roof was gone.
Oh gosh.
And
like the whole roof?
And some damage in the back.
Oh wow.
But no, the roof, because there was when you were in the room, it was like you had a ledge all around.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway,
So did you all, I'm probably skipping in your story, but did you all have to, were you able to just put a new roof on?
no, they came around and assessed all the property. So they, said whether or not you had to rebuild or not. Well, they said that we could repair, but we made the decision we didn't wanna go through that repair. We just
Yeah.
wanted to start over again.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to finish tearing down the house,
Oh,
and then we had a basement, and then we had an in-ground pool.
oh,
So we had to figure out how we were gonna build this house. Over a pool, over a hole, in front of a hole. So, and then of course, with so much damage,
yeah.
it was very hard to get a builder.
I was gonna ask if you had trouble.
And Xenia was very difficult with issuing permits.
Oh, gosh.
It was slow and hard.
Yeah.
And we finally found a builder, and we got things worked out. And I said, I would like to be in the house by Thanksgiving. I said, if I can get in there Thanksgiving, then I feel like I had something to be thankful for. Of course, we already knew that all of us were okay.
Very thankful for that, I'm sure.
And with that, my mother she didn't suffer anymore. After the initial drama and trauma, it was okay with her.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was, and actually, it hasn't been that long. We were talking to somebody, and Jacqueline was, I guess it was just Jacqueline and I. Maybe my oldest daughter was there, and somebody said something about the tornado. And we all laughed. Jack says, heck, we got a better house out the deal. So we didn't, and neither one of them ever had any traumas from
That's good. I mean,
that.
that's, do you remember how old both of your girls were at the time?
Huh?
How old were the girls at the time?
Jacqueline was in the 6th grade,
Wow.
and Joette was a junior.
I'm surprised they weren't more traumatized by that.
No.
Wow.
And after
Good for
that,
them.
after that, and there would be tornado warnings, and my husband would say, they said, go on down there. We've been through it, and we know all the what's going, and if it's going to get us, it's going to get us.
Yeah.
So he finally got settled down. But,
Yeah. Thankfully, you had a basement that you all could go to in that moment.
so.
Yeah. Now, where did you all live while the house was being built?
Well, it was sort of an issue because both of us, my youngest sister needed a place and we needed a place.
Right.
But there was a little house vacant right across the street from where my mother was. And so we moved in that house. And then my sister got an apartment in another house. It was a house that, the second floor had been converted. But they lived in Arrowhead, over in the area where the streets were named for the Indians, Moccasin tribe.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, so they were gonna rebuild it. They bought a house over in the state section on Idaho. So by the middle of the summer, once they started getting the insurance payments
Mm-hmm.
settled, they bought a house there and moved. But we wanted to rebuild.
Yeah.
And then that was an interesting thing. I wanted to go find the insurance company. So my friend from Dayton took me to go to the insurance company, and that was LeSword's. And to get down there, and there's a hole. There's no insurance company.
Oh,
So,
no.
Then they started advertising, information started coming out on the radio, and the Swords were doing their business out of the house.
Oh.
So
Okay.
anyway, so I go to see the insurance company, and at that time they wrote the insurance policies different,
Mhm.
because At that time, most houses did not have attached garages.
Oh,
And the insurance
Okay.
was on the garage and the insurance on the house.
oh,
But
really?
he explained to me that, your insurance is still money for the garage and money for the house. And he explained a lot of things. So I told my sister, and, so then we were all down there at my mother's house, and my sister came in, and I could tell something was wrong. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Well, we just got our insurance money, and we didn't get money for the garage." He said, I said, "No, that's not right." So they were advertising constantly by that time,
I
that
bet.
if you had problems, to call the state insurance office.
Oh, yeah.
So I did, and because her husband was sort of the impatient type, and we got it squared away. But she said, a lot of those, in that area right then, was a lot of transit people,
Oh.
and a lot of them did not get their insurance the way they should have gotten it.
Oh, no.
And also, and I guess because the neighborhood was new and all to a certain extent, there was a lot of looting there.
Really? Oh.
And,
No one else has mentioned looting. I did not know that happened in Xenia.
Huh?
I did not know the looting happened.
well,
after
she
the
said
tornado.
that she saw it
Wow.
when she was going out there trying. Of course, she didn't have that much she could salvage. We salvaged quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we were very fortunate because the base was very liberal with them and helped us. And my office, they got together and got a Air Force truck. And they came, and the office workers came and got my furniture. And
That's
we
nice.
stored it in a friend of ours' garage.
That is really nice. Yeah.
And the funny part about it, I mean, it snowed, the next day.
I heard that.
And so a lot of the furniture, I couldn't cover anything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I could sit in there because I could sit up close to the wall but the snow was coming down in the center. But I had to wait for them to come and get the furniture.
Oh, goodness.
And I thought, I don't know why we're going through this. I don't want this furniture. Wrong. I started looking at furniture. We moved into the house in 1959. In 1960, we bought furniture, new furniture for the house. And from 60 to 74, furniture had escalated, and
Oh, in price?
it was terrible.
Yeah.
And so, plus the fact, I had bought really nice furniture.
Oh, that's good.
And I thought, I don't want to spend that energy and time trying to find something new.
Yeah.
So I kept looking at it, I kept looking at furniture and what have you, and then I realized the value of what I had. And of course, things had changed in 74. I mean, there was a wood refurnishing place on East 3rd Street in Dayton. They restored that furniture just like new.
Really?
It
Oh,
was
that's
amazing.
nice.
I mean, I've looked for stuff like that
Yeah.
for now. And I was very happy because I had put a lot of energy originally picking the furniture. And that furniture, and it was almost expensive. It was not as expensive as buying new furniture, but it also took the pressure of trying to find new
Yep.
furniture.
Yep. Don't have to worry about it then.
And then another interesting thing was, I had decided to redecorate my living room. And, I had made plans and it actually just about finalized it with Adair's Furniture Company in Xenia. Because the original furniture came from Macy's. At that time it was Rice. And of course, the tornado came. So we were able to cancel all that, and then she worked with us and, filling in the new pieces that I needed. Actually, I wasn't replacing so much furniture when I was remodeling, as I was doing carpet.
Oh, yeah.
When we were working on that deal. But we got it all done.
That's good. And then your daughters, they still had school for a couple of months, or a month and a half, 2 months
No,
maybe?
they did, Fairborn. I can't remember now whether it was Fairborn or Peabody,
Okay.
but they did mornings and afternoons. Now, there was a slight difficulty with Jacqueline in that she was 2 blocks away from a wine store where she could walk and get candy. And my daughter oldest daughter went to school in the morning, and Jacqueline went in there. I don't remember now. Anyway, they were on split session.
Oh, okay.
And then after because they were out in the country, so where we were, and they couldn't drive, and my mother had been babysitting with them. She had stopped babysitting because she got sick in '92. So they were pretty much on their own, but neither one of them could drive, so they could go to school and stay by themselves.
Mm.
Well, we get to town, and Jacqueline found out that she could walk up there and buy candy. And we go to the dentist after we get settled down from the tornado, and Jacqueline had 6 cavities.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
She found a new freedom.
Oh, no, I would have been seeking out the candy too, I have to admit, when I was that age. Oh, gosh. So they just had to do that split schedule for the rest of that school year?
Oh, no. I think it was almost, they did that for the rest of that year. Then they managed to do a split seventh. I think it was for almost 2 years.
Really?
It were Warner Junior High. At that time, it was
Oh,
Warner
okay.
Junior High. And they had trailers out there, and they did split. And it was very interesting, because when I'd go out there for the meetings, the janitorial service was excellent.
Wow.
Because with all that traffic and all,
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
It was rough when they had to crowd it all in a half of a day.
Yes, yeah, I was just wondering how they even managed that for that, especially for that long. Did you feel like the girls' schooling suffered at all? Were they behind?
No, Jacqueline didn't like it that well, but she's left.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh shoot, I was gonna ask you something related to that. So this tornado, I mean, it leveled so much of Xenia, and it changed. You had already lived there 40-some years, and then you saw the aftermath of that and how Xenia changed. Like, what did you think of all that? What changed about Xenia? I've heard that Xenia changed. I've only lived there for 17 years, so how, I've only seen it post-tornado. How is it different?
To be very honest, downtown Xenia was already on his deathbed to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came up with these grandiose idea that they were going to have this and this. And that did not materialize, I think, the way it should have.
Yeah.
And they were very slow in some of the things. And I think some bad decisions were made by the officials of Xenia.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it wasn't unique to, that was the way the country was going. Downtown areas
That's true.
didn't survive any place.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, a lot of people, I don't know if you're familiar with Nextdoor, or that social media
No.
group.
Oh, next door?
Yeah.
Yes, I
And I
am.
mean, I read a lot of that, and they all say, well, all this had to do with a tornado. All of it really was not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people did leave Xenia
Mm-hmm.
and didn't go back.
Well, I think you make a really good point that really is where the country, every town,
Yeah.
was experiencing a big shift. and there weren't the small town storefront, independently owned little storefronts. Those were all kind of starting to.
In 1986, we had an aunt. Well, she was not an aunt, but we always thought of her as an aunt that lived in D.C. And my mother had died by that time, and we decided, we always stayed in close touch with her, and we decided to go see her. So we did, and my three sisters and I drove up there to see her, and we had a really good time. So, and she was so happy to see us because her daughter had an unfortunate illness of leukemia.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
died and her children, she had two boys, and they were still in school, grade school. So she was very happy for us, and she was living in a senior complex. So the next year, I said, you know what, we always had this difficulty with Mother's Day. And I said, let's go to D.C. and spend Mother's Day with Aunt Faye. So we did. And, we had such a good time. Chaplain at that time was working for Cargo down in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, really?
And she flew up and met us, and we had a good time,
Nice.
and we went. And so then it became a ritual that every year we would, and we had gone without my husband. And then he decided he wanted to go because he wanted to enjoy the fun. So we would go, and I just loved going down there, downtown Dayton to shop, because she lived in a complex which was right in Fog Bottom in D.C., right with a block away from the Kennedy Art Center.
Oh, wow.
And we could always take a show there, and we'd make sure that we get us tickets to go to the National Theater.
Neat.
And then the shopping. And then she died. And we went back to D.C. about 2 years later for a family reunion, which we weren't a part of. But anyway, I was shocked. Downtown Washington wasn't what it used to be.
Wow.
I went to Woodard's. Woodard's was closed. And, it was,
So it affected even Washington D.C. at
Yeah.
that point, just the shift
yeah.
and how we live. Yeah. Really interesting. An interesting perspective, because a lot of the interviews we've done, people really feel like the town was never the same because of the tornado.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was and I think you're right, it was a factor, but not the only factor.
No,
That's really interesting. So, anything else? I think I've asked all my questions, but anything else about the tornado, about Xenia, about living in Xenia that I have not had a chance to, let you talk about that you wanted to share?
Well, I think the cleanup effort was superb.
That is great.
Because I ended up, until we moved into the house, I spent about 3 weeks in Dayton. My aunt, because I don't know how long they closed the school, because we were in Dayton, and the kids couldn't go back to school until we got into the house in Xenia. So I think the schools were closed longer than what I remember. But she lived out near beyond the VA in Dayton. And so we stayed with her until we moved into the house. And I would come over to the house to try to get things salvaged. And then I actually went to work from her house, and but I would come back. And it was, so depressing at first.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder, why do we have wars?
Yeah.
Why did you actually do this to people? This was an act of God, of nature. But, the desolation and all that pink asbestos hanging from the trees,
Mm-hmm.
pieces of plastic and all. But I thought, they'll never get that cleaned up. But it wasn't long before all that was cleaned up, and, the rebuilding process started. But,
And I have heard that it went really surprisingly well and quickly, and
they moved in right away.
yeah, thank goodness.
Because it was really, looking at the trees, already branches broken and all this debris hanging from it and all, but
Yeah.
that part was very good. And, his sense, I know that some people got gypped by the insurance companies,
Oh, I hate to hear that.
and,
Goodness. Did you hear of people being so gypped that they couldn't rebuild?
no, I think most of the ones that I know, not in our area, where my sister lived.
Mm-hmm. Cause that was Arrowhead?
That was in Arrowhead.
Okay. I have heard that Arrowhead was hit hard.
Yeah.
Really hard, yeah. Were the States, was that subdivision there at the time?
The States was just beginning to build.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess it was more of that because they moved to Idaho,
Okay,
because they were down on Moccasin.
yeah. So that was a newer complex, or,
Yeah.
subdivision, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. It's great to get a perspective, from somebody that was established in Xenia, had been for a long time, was an adult during the time, It's just really great to get these stories and histories kind of recorded, preserved.
Well, it was an interesting time.
I bet. Sounds like it was really frustrating getting everything reestablished.
It was frustrating, and everybody said, well, are you going, I said, no, if I'm gonna rebuild again, I'm gonna rebuild the way I wanna build. Because the
Absolutely.
original house was a ranch, because that was what was popular, what money we had.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And, and you walked in and, the living room was here. To get to the kitchen, you had to go through a corner of the living room and into the dining room. So when we rebuilt, I built it the way I wanted. And we added on to part of the house, and the house was a lot bigger.
Now, did you still do one story? Or
Yeah.
did you yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did 1 story. 2 stories at that time weren't the most popular, they came after. But of course, now, when they started building more 2 stories, and I thought, man, look at the space. Now at 92, I am so glad that I do not have a 2-story
Yes.
house.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
I can hardly walk.
Hey, you do
about
great.
3 steps.
From what I've seen, you do great.
So, that was the way it was.
Yeah. But I imagine it is nice to have one story. You don't have to worry about steps and all that.
And that was one thing about it. Another thing about the tornado where we were, we had no problems with looting or anything.
That's good.
It was very safe.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come.